Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Sara Jane. This is Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls on Gift of Healing TV. And hopefully, as you can see, I am joined by my sister, Jackie. Jackie, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for inviting me again. Glutton for punishment.
Oh, absolutely, always. Um, Folks, does appear to be some slight hesitation in the actual video. Hopefully the sound will stay pretty okay for this. We'll keep our fingers crossed. The topic for this one is rules of life. Now, I actually saw these as part of it was probably Twitter rather than Facebook post, and I haven't done all that were on there because I don't know whether it was 7 rules of life or whatever it was, but we're going to have a quick go at 6 of them. And Jackie does sort of know what she's in for with this one. So and I love reading things like this. I really do, because I think they can be quite an eye opener, especially if you haven't thought about life. Other than the rut you've got yourself stuck in, I suppose. And it says, the first one is make peace with your past. And I think I'd almost like to take that a step further. Yes, it's making peace with it, but it's also, to me, about learning to unlearn some of the things you've learnt so that you can make way for being who you are, but make peace with those things that you've learnt. Now, that's quite a lot to think about. But Jackie, do you want to add anything to that?
I agree with you. I think that's quite a lot to think about, because I think that make peace with your past. I think for me, so much of my past, that there are some good things, some amazing things, some awful things, some terrible things, and whatever else. And it's about, to me, it comes into the element of forgiveness as well. To me, that's what I hear, because it's sometimes forgiveness for ourselves and everything else. But when you just said about unlearning things, how much of who we are is our favorite teacher at school, somebody who impressed us, our parents, our grandparents, what we've heard or seen on a television program when we were at that age where we were impressionable. And actually, sometimes the other thing you said about being in that rut and not having thought about life. Oh my goodness, I am so guilty of having been that person. I was, somebody I was talking to not that long ago, they said, it was about living where they lived. Do you live in Dawlish? Yes. Do you do life in Dawlish? No. Because quite often now, and so do you live in your past? Do you do life in the moment today? Do you actually think about why you're doing those things? So I think it's a really good question, Sarah, and very deep, and probably one that you could have a month's worth of programs on with if people sent questions in. Really good debate, and no one answer is right, because it's different for every single person.
Oh, absolutely. I have definitely been one of those people that I don't think I'd have even read something like that if I'd have even seen it, because it wouldn't have come into my purview at the time when I was that stuck. And I have made peace with an awful lot of my past. I think it's the layers of the onion, the healing process. Yeah. And I think a lot of it has been about unlearning things, where I've felt unwanted, unloved, not good enough, etc., etc., etc. I've had to unlearn those feelings to realize that every single one of us is a valid, special, amazing human being.
Yeah. And I think we all have amazing qualities and amazing traits. And we all have ones that we'd probably prefer people didn't know about, because I'm sure it was the book by Araya Mountain Dreamer, I think it was. I think it was The Invitation, I think. I may be wrong. And the start of it, I think I mentioned it before, and it talks about us being like a landscape. you know, the highest of the highs and the mountaintop, and then the lowest of the lows, and in the dark caves and the bits which we wouldn't want to share with anybody else and everything else. And I think it's actually accepting that every single person is a bit like that. And actually, I think one of your other rules that you've got on there is what other people think of us is none of our business.
Number 3.
Yeah. Now, I think that's really valid, because how much time do we spend worrying about what other people think about us? But actually, if you think about it, how much time do we spend thinking about other people? We don't really. I know I don't. I spend more time worrying about what other people think about me. So if that's me, and you're nodding your head, Sarah, so do we really think that other people really think about us? They're too busy worrying about what we're thinking about them, and we're doing the same. And actually, none of us are thinking about the other people, or very rarely, in the sense of to be critical or whatever else. We're all more worried about that. So, yeah, I just think that there's so much more to all of this. I loved the ones that you. So I'll let you take over, Sarah, because I've skipped one. I've gone from 1 to 3.
But we might as well cover 3 while we're at it. And I think that was my biggest aha moment. Not having read anything like, you know, what other people think is none of your business. But actually, and I sort of vaguely remember standing in the kitchen in the house that I lived in at the time and thinking, but other people aren't thinking about me. So why the heck am I worried about what they are thinking about me? They are too busy worrying about what's going on in their own lives.
Yeah.
And potentially, as you said, worrying about what other people think about them.
Yeah.
So there's no way that now, obviously, every now and again, you will get someone pass a comment. And with the social media we have these days and comments that people make, but ignore them, because it's got nothing to do with you. That awareness that anybody that says anything that's unkind, nasty, or anything like that, what are they going through? There was a thing on, I'm sure it was Facebook today, that was about somebody who was out for a walk or something, and they came across, and I'm not sure what it was, dog or something, and they went to approach the animal, and it went berserk, absolutely went berserk, snarling, growling. And then he realized, or she, whatever, realized that it was trapped. It had a snare around a foot or something. And therefore it was in pain.
Yeah.
And it really went into this, you know, when people go into that snarling, growling, you know, whatever, what is going on for them? Don't take it by surface. But I think but what other people think of us is none of our business, because we have no idea what's going on in their lives. And most of what is said has more to do with them than it does to have with us.
I do agree with you. I just know how hard that one is. I know how hard that one is. I think that. So my brain is going 60 to the dozen, thinking how much do I say and how much do I not say. So I mentioned before I was in an abusive marriage, and for me, if I did something wrong, so therefore if he thought something about me, so I had to constantly be anticipating what he would be thinking about me and my actions, because if I made a mistake, then there would be repercussions. And so I think that whether other people find it as difficult to let go of this one as I do, but I have that inbuilt in me, right down to if I put the wrong wording in an email and somebody comes back and snaps a little bit, or has a bit of a bad attitude in an email, that can throw me off because I'm there thinking, what did I do wrong? What did I get wrong? Did I word that? How could it have been perceived in a different way? It's back to that thing that I think we've talked about before. Did you hear what I said? Sort of thing. Because, and it's that, but also I think different words mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
So one of my clients couldn't cope with the word bad because that would mean a beating when they were growing up if they were bad, but could cope with the word evil because the word evil didn't lead to a beating, but the word bad did. So isn't it interesting? Because to me, bad is neither here nor there, but evil's, you know, those different things. So I think this thing about people, what other people think of us is none of our business, is one of those sentences so much easier to say than to take on board.
Oh, and it depends on where in your healing journey you are.
Yeah.
Because if you're right at the beginning of it,
yeah,
absolutely. We've been there at the beginning of it. My insecurities were horrendous.
Yeah.
You know, they really were. And I spent my life trying to be a people pleaser because of my absolute insecurities. And so if we head to number 2, which was time heals almost everything. Give it time. But to me, it's all very well saying give it time, but I've had to work on things. You've had to work on things to help that healing process. So yes, the first part of time heals almost everything. But there's other things that there are other things that go with the time.
Yeah, definitely.
It isn't a matter of, you know, sort of, if you want to win the lottery, you have to buy a ticket. You know, let's just take this to the simplest. You can't expect, right, I will just sit here, do absolutely nothing, and time will heal it.
Yeah. That's where I think one of the greatest gifts that anybody ever gets in life is frustration. If you are frustrated with something, you will take steps to make it change. And for me, my view of the healing process is there are times you need to sit back and do nothing. You need to let it be. But at the point that you get frustrated of letting it be, then you're ready to take action to move towards that healing, that journey and whatever else. And sometimes on that journey, things can get worse before they get better. They can become more painful because you actually, what's the word? I was going to say something to do with investigate. You have to look into it. You have to dig deeper, and you might find other things that maybe you don't like about yourself, or you may be that something awful happened and you were blaming somebody else, but actually then you realize that you played a part in it as well. And sometimes that can be really painful, because I do think that in a lot of things, not everything, there's usually a part that we have played in it as well. So in my marriage, there was a part that I played in it as well, because hey, I used to have a really foul mouth and a bad temper, because if I was pushed and I felt cornered, I would shout. I'm not really a shouter now, but I think I have my life in such a nice bubble that I don't ever get pushed. But so, you know, what did I trigger in him? I'm not letting him off the hook. Definitely not. I'm not making excuses in different bits and pieces. But I played a part in it, and I can't just say that it was all one-sided. It wasn't, you know, there's those things. So we discover things about ourselves that we may not like, which can be more painful, but it's part of the process and the journey.
Healing crisis is a term, and it's so true. Things can get worse before they get better. I look at things when I'm working with clients, and it's very much a matter of, I will take people so far, and I will get a sense of when things need to stop, that it's gone as far as it needs to at that point in time. Taking things any further could actually take people backwards. So then it is a matter of allowing that space and that time for the integration of that aspect of healing. So absolutely, it is a matter of giving things time. It's giving things time in the right place, if you like. And stop. There are times it is absolutely the right thing to do is to stop.
And that can be for a number of reasons, can't it? It can be time to stop because they're not quite ready at that stage, time to stop because they've come far enough and actually they need to take some of the next steps and some of the responsibility or whatever else. I think the whole life forward is not, it's not just a jigsaw puzzle that we've got all the pieces there in some senses, because actually I think it's a bit more like a double-sided jigsaw puzzle. Depends which way around you put them as to what the picture looks like and everything else, and changing those outcomes and your actions determine what your future and your past looks like. One of the most thinking about the past, one of the most interesting things, I was on a training course in London a number of years ago, probably 2010, and it was absolutely brilliant because it was going back to those key stages in your life that had become pivotal moments. And for some of those, it was about looking at the things that weren't so nice, the memories that weren't so good, going back in, looking at those and doing something called reframing. Find something good that came out of that negative. And when you find something good that comes out of the negative, you stop feeling so negatively attached to that memory. You actually start feeling a bit more positively attached. And it was a bit like dominoes. Because once I felt better about one thing, so here, it was like it took these other memories that were negative and it just tipped them all over. And suddenly they didn't have that power on me anymore. And it was fabulous. And I would recommend to everybody, do a timeline of pivotal moments in your life. Then the negative ones, don't suggest doing it with the positive ones. And finding something negative. I'm not suggesting that because I don't think that's very sensible. But with the negative ones, find one positive thing that would not have happened had this not happened. So as a very out there example, and I remember listening to a lady who had lost a child, one of the most devastating things that could happen to somebody, I think. And she looked back at that and had so much love that her child was just a gift for a short period of time. But because of what had happened, she now had set up a charity and she was doing this and she was doing that and she was helping, and she had met all these amazing families that had gone through different things, and the quality of her life was, as she said, so much better than if she'd never had her child. And so she found such a strength, and her child's visit to Earth and to being with her and part of her family had given her the biggest gift ever, and had actually helped so many other people and families. Really extreme example. But yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I sort of look back at the broken jaw, which the 6 months of pain and sleepless nights really was no fun. But now I look at it and think it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it became that wake-up call that I wouldn't be right here and right now doing what I'm doing if I hadn't had that. Number 4, otherwise we're going to run out of time. And I think this is probably just about right. Stop thinking too much. It's all right not to know the answers. They will come to you when you least expect them. And that's probably when you stop thinking. and it's so true. So literally this week, yesterday, I was thinking, right, okay, I've got an article to write for the online magazine I write for. And I was thinking, and I went out for my walk and I was thinking, what? And actually one of the words was forget. They do 3 words that you can write an article on. And it's just like, oh, how the heck am I supposed to do? I was thinking about it as I was going out for a walk, and I was walking through the woods. I thought, just stop thinking about it. And as I started walking through the woods, and it's ended up as a poem, yet another poem. Jack, you'll be aware I've been writing a few poems just recently. And it's ended up by being really beautiful. But by stopping thinking, I allowed the flow. And by always having to have an answer immediately, we sometimes can miss out on that journey to the answer.
I love that. We can sometimes miss out on that journey to the answer. Yeah, I love that. I mean, for me, I can't think when it was. It might have been something to do with one of the Richard Branson things or something like that. And there was the question to do with, when do you have your best thinking? When do you have your most ideas? Is it the bath, the shower, when you're listening to music and whatever else? For me, it was very definitely going out walking and having my camera with me. My camera is a protection for me. It's a filter between me and the world. So I can look up and I can look through the camera to see the beauty that's around, which sometimes I don't feel, and that's just part of me. Sometimes I'm not quite there with looking the world straight in the eye yet, and that's fine, and that feels comfortable for me. I haven't quite got to that frustrated point yet. One day, maybe that might change. But so I think it is. What is your space? Is it playing a game of cards? Is it being with friends and laughing and joking? What is that space to allow you to stop thinking?
Yeah. Sorry, I'd had to write down that journey to the answer because I don't know where that came from, but I really like that.
Yeah, no, I really do. You know, don't miss out on that journey to the answer. I think that was really quite prophetic in a way. Not pathetic, prophetic. Just so I'd make sure I clear that up in case there was a problem with the sound there. Somebody didn't think I was being rude to you. I really wasn't. But no, I think it is. It's a really interesting one. And for me, the journey with most things is the most exciting part of things. The most scary, but actually when you do something or you achieve it or whatever else, it's also quite exciting.
But I actually think of life as being like a roller coaster, and I'm on board.
Now I get vertigo, so I just want to get off. Not off life, but any roller coaster. So,
it definitely has its ups and downs.
Definitely.
Okay, number 5. No one is in charge of your happiness except you. And to me, that is so true. I can choose to be happy in this moment. I can choose to be sad, upset, angry, whatever in this moment. And actually, the more I think about life, I would prefer to be happy. It was beautiful yesterday morning, walking through the woods. The bird song was, it was just lovely. I've still got road noise, unfortunately, but it was lovely listening to it. And I could have chose to be miserable walking through the woods, or it was just like, actually, you know what? I'm going to choose. I didn't think about choosing to enjoy it. It was just, this is beautiful.
Yeah, I must admit, I've had yesterday and the day before, I had 2 of my grandchildren, and I think they took me out for a walk, let's be honest. And the bird song again was absolutely fantastic. And seeing butterflies already and everything else was just wonderful, you know, so beautiful. Yes.
And it is our choice, regardless of what is going on. And to me, the forgiveness thing is about, if somebody disrupts or disturbs your energies, actually, you are the one that is giving them permission to do that. And we do have that right to say, do you know what? I'm not going to let you do that. I choose to be happy in this moment, regardless. And I suppose that comes back to the what other people think of you and none of your business. I choose that actually I am going to enjoy life. I am going to get as much fun and pleasure out of it and experiences out of it, and hopefully take the good of those. And it's my choice. I'm the one in control of that. And I don't wish to give that control away.
Anybody else? You're going to need to forgive me for a second. I need to stand up. I'm cat sitting for my son, and both cats are now sat at the door to the side of me. So if you see me looking off to the side as though somebody's there, it's not. There are two cats. And before they start meowing, I think if I get up, walk around the back of the computer, open the door, let them go out, then maybe we won't get any disturbance. Sarah, carry on talking.
Well, I know you'll probably want to come back to that one about the happiness. But number 6 is smile. You don't own all the problems in the world. And I suppose that actually the smile and the being in control of your own happiness, and you don't own all the problems. There is always somebody worse off than you. I get it when it's a struggle, because I spent so many years living in what I perceived to be struggle. And I perceived it to be struggle because I made it a struggle. It was my choice. I just didn't understand I had the choice. And I think that's the difference with so many people, isn't it?
I think that's a really interesting one. And I think that's where you again, you are totally right. And we have a choice. We have a choice in every single minute of every single day as to how we act and react, what we do, whether we're smiling, whether we're happy, whether we're sad. So circumstances around us can generate feelings and emotions, but at the end of the day, we have the choice with those. Now, I think there comes an element within that of, so say you've broken your leg and you're in pain from that, okay? People will accept because you've got a broken leg that you're in pain with that. But I think there's an element of mental health that comes into this as well, because I think for some people with depression, with different situations, there are times in their life where actually they don't have a choice with it, because it is a chemical imbalance within their brain that triggers something, or it's PTSD, or it's whatever else. So I think what I just want to clarify, that's not a blanket statement in the sense of for everybody and to make anybody feel bad, because actually if somebody has got that depression, if somebody has got PTSD, if somebody has got, there are times in our lives when actually we almost need to be in that space, and it takes that healing to get us to where we're strong enough to do it. And nobody should feel bad if they're in that space and feel that they're being judged. So I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't a judgment statement or a blanket one.
That is one thing I love about everything I've learned, is that I actually, hopefully, the majority of the time, manage to stay out of any judgment of anybody. It was like going back to that dog by that tree. Your immediate reaction in judgment.
Yeah.
But it's stepping back. You talking about broken leg. People can see that.
Yeah.
If you've got something that is invisible, my broken jaw, you would not have known.
Yeah.
I've got a broken jaw. There were no bruises. There was no swelling. But it gave me 6 months of pain and sleepless nights.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see that.
Yeah.
If you have something that's fairly minor, that in the way of an operation, our mother used to be a nurse. And one thing she said to me after something I'd had done was, You've still been stabbed. The fact it's under controlled conditions, under an anaesthetic, you have still been stabbed. You told somebody you've been stabbed, you get way more sympathy than the fact that you've had an operation and somebody's taken a knife to you.
And I mean, yeah, that's it's just the reason for my chuckling then was maybe we need to tell our mother that at the moment.
Well, yes, yeah, she's just had an operation on through toes.
Exactly. So no, I think it is, and I think my it was just that element of concern then, that somebody, if they were listening and they were having a struggle in their life at the moment, would feel as though there was an element of judgment. Because I think that from having known, myself with my own thoughts and different bits and pieces, when you feel like somebody else is judging, then it can knock you back a little bit more. And I just wanted to clarify that actually with both of us, we're not judging, but sometimes we might not use the words that match for everybody. But just if everybody just knows, we're definitely not judging, and we know that there are times in people's lives where these are overarching statements, not in judgment of anybody if it's not quite right for them in that moment in time or whatever else. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Because that one, the one to do with what other people think of you is none of your business. I really struggle with the terminology, none of your business, because that was a terminology that would be used to me at times, but in a very scathing way. And so what it does is it has a trigger point for me. I get the principle of what the words mean. It doesn't stop the fact that none of your business has a trigger point, a trigger effect for me on it. And so I'd love to find a different way of wording that. Or maybe what would be better is to learn how for it not to be a trigger.
But I think we all have trigger words. And I know I've definitely said when it comes to the word service, I have a huge problem. Yeah. And I really do. And when it comes to the use of the word healer, I have a huge problem. And I think there are other words, just as you have your words. Yep. The words that are triggers for me aren't triggers for you because of different things that have happened in our lives. Yep. And so there are different trigger words for everybody. And it is, and I see that word, and I still cringe when I see that word service.
And yet
I know what people mean. But...
Yeah. And yet for me, I love it. I love being of service to other people. I love making a difference, whether it go back to the hotel days and waitressing and making somebody's meal a fantastic experience or whatever else, or whether it's nowadays and giving good service through the work that I do and whatever else. I love being of service. And yet for you, it's exactly the opposite.
I love helping people, supporting people.
Exactly.
But I can't use that word.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I just can't use that word. So yes. So Jackie and I totally get the terminology. And we've talked about it before. But Jackie, as we are coming to a close, because we're already running late as usual. Any final comments you wish to make on this, our theme of rules of life?
I think that there are no rules of life, and yet and yet at the same time that there are. And I think it's about finding the ones that work for you. When I say that there are rules, no murdering. None of those nasty bits and pieces in life. I'm sorry, they are not. But I think, and for me, part of my rules of life are manners, respect, integrity. And to me, I think the values are probably more important than the rules, because if you live by your values, you don't need rules. Does that make any sense? I think rules are back to me, rules are going back to Croft Lodge Convent. You will do this, you won't do that, you're this type of person, you're da 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 da. Oh my goodness, that's rules. Don't do as I do as I say. You know, children should be seen and not heard. In fact, I think half the time they didn't want to see us either. That's not our parents, by the way. That's a school. But I think we were brought up in a very strict Catholic household, going to a Catholic school where rules and judgment and shame were huge elements of our upbringing. I'm really pleased to see that the world is changing, and that I think that sometimes it goes a little bit too much the other way at the moment, but I'm hoping it will then do that balancing act and come back. But I do like to see that, I like to see people are given a bit more of a voice.
Rules are made for breaking.
Depends which ones.
I wouldn't use the word rules, as it's the same as it's the 10 commandments. No, it's not. It's the 10 commitments. And a commitment is very different to a commandment. And rules for life? How about guidelines for life?
Yeah,
I give you a choice.
Yeah.
It's just the use of terminology, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I love values. I just what's important to you as a person. So for me, honesty, respect, integrity, huge
manners.
Oh well, that to me, manners comes under respect. Yeah. If you've got respect for people, you're going to have manners. Money means diddly squat to me, and yet I feel incredibly wealthy because I may not have much, but I have everything I need.
Wealth has nothing to do with money.
Yeah,
to me.
I agree.
So,
yeah, I agree.
Right. As we're going
off at a tangent,
which we're very good at doing. Excuse me. I've got a real tickle.
I'll pat you behind there. They are. Just pass it back.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you for joining me, for sharing with me, because I do appreciate that bringing in that second voice brings in a lot more than just my voice. And it's great to listen to things from different perspectives and different angles. So thank you very much for joining me. And yourselves, folks, thank you for watching, for listening. And I hope that what we've shared has given you some food for thought and helps you, because that is what it's about for me. It is about supporting people, not serving, but it's about supporting people. Sorry. If you've got any comments, you're not sure you want to share sort of under the YouTube video, or you can go onto the website and share, feel free to send an email, giftofhealingtv@gmail.com. If you want something that you want to actually share with Jackie, I will forward it to her very easily, no problems at all. She's my sister, I have got her email address. And anything you want us to share, you'd like to hear discussed, talked about, just let us know. That would be lovely. Next week, I will be on my own because Jackie's off at some sort of meeting or other. Bless her. Good for her. Comparison/comparing. And I'll leave that there. I hope that you will join me for that. In the meantime, have a brilliant week, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you all.
Bye.
Love, peace, and light. Namaste.